Hi, my name is Gary, and we're going to go under the hood today to look at what's going on when a conversation gets taken over by somebody and they're monopolizing it and refusing to share the air, so to speak, with everybody else. When they're going on and on and on, and someone needs to figure out how to get the conversation back on the rail. That's what we'll talk about today, and by the end of this video, you're going to know a technique that is profound but simple, and you can learn it quickly and easily and start using it immediately when you find yourself in that situation. You know, we've all been there. We've all been tempted to say something like, okay, Henry, that's enough. I think we've heard what you have to say. Or, Janet, can you pipe down? Or, Steve, you've said that thing 3 times. Can we please move on? We've all been tempted to say that, and for the most part, we don't say it because we know that good leadership is not sarcastic, and good leadership is not passive-aggressive. It's something much more positive than that. The good news is there is a way to get someone to stop monopolizing the conversation, and the technique leaves them feeling good about their contribution, feeling good about the fact that they've just been asked to stop talking, and the group gets re-energized, and they see a great act of leadership from you. So let's talk about what that is. It's called piggybacking. Piggybacking is a funny, goofy-sounding word, but it simply means you're going to build on what's already been said. You're going to add something to what's been said. You see what's happening here when you do that? Bob's feeling flattered that you want to add to what he has to say. He's not feeling embarrassed. No. He feels pretty good about it, and he wants to know, what are you going to add to that? So that's the power of a tool called piggybacking. Now, piggybacking is pretty simple to do. It's 5 little words. Let me piggyback on that. I think that's 5. Let me piggyback on that. Yeah, it's 5 little words. And what happens is you piggyback by waiting for a pause from the speaker. And no matter how much they're talking, they're going to pause for breath sooner or later. And when they pause, you say, let me piggyback on that. And you might add a compliment as well. Why not? So that's good stuff, Jim. We really needed to hear that. Let me piggyback on that. You see what's happening here? They're surrendering the microphone pretty gladly because you're building on what they've contributed. The other thing you can do when you piggyback is to take the conversation wherever you think it needs to go. So maybe Bill has been talking about the impact of the budget on the project, and he's been going on and on about that because maybe he's an expert on the budget. You want to piggyback and bring the conversation back and get the group re-engaged. So what you do is you say, Bill, that's great stuff. We've learned a lot. Let me piggyback on it by adding some things we haven't been talking about, which is the impact of schedule on the project, or the impact of personnel shortages on the project, whatever it might be. You've taken control of the conversation and brought it back on track, and you've changed the topic of the conversation from whatever the person who was talking too long had been going on and on about to something that the group can now get re-engaged and enthused and excited about. And no one feels badly about this. The person you've piggybacked on doesn't feel badly. They feel pretty good. The group doesn't feel badly. They feel pretty relieved. And they've seen an act of leadership from you that is positive and calm and poised. Now, you don't always have to be the person who adds to the content. You can say something like, Jim, those are great thoughts on the schedule. Let me piggyback on that and ask Susan, who's an expert on the budget, if she'd like to add a few thoughts to what we're talking about. That invites Susan to participate. It gives her a license to do so, so to speak. And again, the original speaker is not offended. The new speaker is feeling pretty ready and okay to go with their content, and everybody's happy. So here's the deal. This technique is not used as often as I think it should be. It should be used frequently whenever a conversation starts to go off the rails because somebody's talking too much. And you can learn to do this really easily. Give the technique a personal audition. Try it for yourself. See if it works for you. This week, pick 3 conversations that you're involved in. They can be one-on-one conversations. They can be group conversations. They can be Zoom calls. They can be any conversation. And at some point, piggyback with someone. Say, Amy, great stuff let me piggyback on what you're talking about, or let me add to what you're saying. The important thing is just do it casually and without fanfare. Amy, great stuff. Let me piggyback on that. That's it. Let me piggyback on that. 5 little words. Now, I guarantee you, if you try this a few times in practice, where there's no stakes at all, it'll become so simple that it'll become part of your toolkit, and you'll begin to use it as a manager or leader in the future really easily. You'll be able to pull it right out of your toolkit and use it whenever a conversation is going off the rails because someone has spoken too long. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.